Good morning or good afternoon, wherever everyone is right now. My name is Rebecca Pine, and thank you so much for having me today. I'm here, here to talk with you a little bit about my project with photographer Miana June, The Breast in the Sea, and also on the topic of self-acceptance with our changed bodies post-cancer and the topic of going flat. So here's a little clip from some Today's Show experience that's on the topic of going flat.
Women have breast reconstruction after their mastectomies, but a growing number of women are opting to go flat, as they say. And I sat down with three brave women who made that very personal choice.
My name is Rebecca Pine. I am 41 years old and I'm a breast cancer survivor. My husband and I really wanted to have a child together, and I wanted to keep my other breast in the hopes that I would be able to breastfeed her.
You actually had reconstructive surgery, right?
Yes, I had the single mastectomy and reconstruction on that side.
Your mom fought breast cancer, and I'm told that you made a promise to your mom. What was that promise?
I promised her that I would do preventative surgeries and remove my other breast, and that was a difficult choice. There wasn't much about what to expect emotionally, and there certainly were not images of real women. It's really about finding ways of just accepting ourselves and redefining beauty on our own terms.
I'm Shay Sharp. I'm 39 years old, and I'm a two-time breast cancer survivor. You always hear about you have to be age 40 to get a mammogram, so in my mind, I had no reason to believe that I could get it.
To make the decision to go flat, as it's now called, it's a very personal decision, but probably not an easy one to make.
It's not an easy decision. You know, it's not just physical, it's mental as well. And not everyone can handle that.
It's kind of made you an advocate. You've started your organization called, is it Pink Wishes?
Shay Sharp's Pink Wishes, yes.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about that.
So we grant final wishes to young women and children who've been diagnosed or affected by terminal breast cancer. And this year, I set row 1, seat 1, as her son graduated from high school. There's no way in the world I would have done Pink Wishes without having cancer.
My name is Marianne Duquette Quozo. I'm 52 years old, and I'm a breast cancer survivor. I have to tell my new husband, not only do I have cancer, but we can't have kids. Now you're gonna get me to crying.
Years later, you again have a symptom, and you find your own lump, and this time it comes back and you have breast cancer.
Yeah. Unfortunately, as soon as I got the expanders taken out and the implants put in, I got an infection.
At this point, you made a decision,
Yes.
I think,
Yes.
to, as they say, now are saying, go flat.
Go flat.
It's not, I mean, it's a very personal decision.
Yes, it was tough. But I really enjoyed having breasts. They were part of my identity, and they were taken away from me. And now this is the new sexy for me.
You were able to still have a child.
Yes, thank you. Yes. So it's been amazing. I'm sorry, I'm crying again. I told him yesterday what I was going to be doing, and he's like, this is your mission, Mom.
I do feel strong and empowered, and I think that that comes from the inside.
This is normal. It's unfortunate, but for me, it's made fortunate.
I want women to see the beauty in that you're still sensual. Someone still wants you, and you're still awesome. You're still you, with or without them.
I am authentic, beautiful, changed.
blessed, humble, definitely humble.
I'm strong, whimsical, and I'm resilient.
This is obviously, it's a really personal decision, but you guys, I'm hearing from a lot of women on social media who say, I wasn't even given this choice. It was kind of that I was told I was going to put you back to normal. And some of them want them taken out. And now are wondering, will insurance cover it? I mean,
well, you think about all the complications that often come with reconstruction.
A lot of surgeries.
Absolutely. Joan, thank you for that.
And thank you to all those brave women.
Yeah, really brave.
Yeah.
Thank you, Joan.
Peacock's got Harry Potter. All 8 movies.
All right. So I am an early stage breast cancer survivor, diagnosed in 2009. I am a workshop facilitator for the Breast in the Sea project and co-founder. And I also facilitate a breast cancer support group for Westmed Medical Group in Rye, New York. So I'm going to share with you a little slideshow here about the Breast in the Sea project. Thanks, Dan. I started the Breast in the Sea with photographer Miana June in 2014. We wanted to give breast cancer survivors, previvors, and patients a deep nature experience while immersed in a supportive community at a private beach on Long Island, New York. Every year we host seaside workshops, and they're focused on the inner healing process and embracing our scars and ourselves exactly the way we are. When I was diagnosed in 2009 and faced with decisions I knew would affect the rest of my life, I sifted through treatment options and surgical outcomes. And I found a lot of information about what to expect physically, but there really wasn't a whole lot about what to expect emotionally. As someone who's always been grounded in nature, I turned to the sea. Next, please. I wasn't exactly afraid of feeling less feminine, but then I would feel less whole with part of my body missing. I found solace in my quiet moments by the sea. The rhythm of the waves and the calls of the shorebirds were extremely healing for me. So I spent as much time as I could at the beach. And I found that even though I arrived feeling anxious, afraid, stressed, and overwhelmed, even though I didn't always find any answers, I would always leave with a sense of peace and ease. Next, please. Miana and I wanted to share that experience of peace and ease with breast cancer patients and survivors that were struggling with the layered emotions that go along with the experience of diagnosis, treatment, and surgery. Next. We wanted to create a safe space and build a truly supportive community. So commonly, there are feelings of shame and self-judgment when it comes to our feelings about our changed post-cancer bodies. Our hope was to change this. We also wanted to change the way that breast cancer and scars were viewed. We began hosting seaside gatherings. Participants are invited to participate in creative expression, working with clay and guided movement sequence in the water. Next, please. Within this safe space, at our private beach location, we bear our scars, supported by the sea and one another. Miana captures the experience photographically, and she highlights the intimate experience of strength that's found within vulnerability. Next, please. The Breast in the Sea is a project of everyday survivors and thrivers embracing ourselves exactly as we are. Next, please. Most of us may feel confident and self-assured in our bodies and selves at times. Next. and at other times actively mourn the loss of our breast or breasts. Next. When we gather together, we honor all of our experiences, connecting in the present moment with ourselves and one another. Next. I believe we are all whole. Next. With or without breasts. Next. We are all beautiful. Next. With and without scars. Next. Whether we have chosen reconstruction or have either opted to or out of necessity had to go flat. Next. We are still powerful. Next. Raw. Next. Exuberant. Next. And lively selves. Still ourselves. All right, thank you, Darren. So we continue to host these workshops every summer at Private Beach in Long Island, New York. And the project is really just a chance to come together and to support one another and to really affirm that we are totally whole and complete just the way we are. And even though we don't always feel that way, or maybe even we seldom feel that way, but just to have a chance to remember this, to reclaim this, and to know that that's available to us always. So that that being said, excuse me for just one moment, please. I'm wondering if we could possibly start our panel a little bit early since we have everybody here now. That would be really nice. I'd love to introduce my friends Marianne Duquette-Cozzo and Kimberly Bowles, and they are other early stage breast cancer survivors who are also flat or have aesthetic flat closure, as we're now terming this. And it's a wonderful opportunity for us all to talk about self-acceptance and the process of going flat. Thank you. Welcome.
Hi, Rebecca.
Hi, Kim.
Hi, Rebecca.
Hi there.
Hi, Marianne.
Hi, Kimberly.
So you want to each take a moment maybe to talk about, get a little intro for yourselves.
Kimberly, you're warmed up. You go ahead.
Do you want to start, Kim?
Well, sure, why not? So I'm Kim Bowles. I'm the founder of a nonprofit called Not Putting on a Shirt, and we advocate for optimal aesthetic outcomes for women who choose to go flat after mastectomy. And the reason I became an advocate was I decided to go flat, and my surgeon did not respect my wishes. And I realized, I'm sorry, I keep getting pings here. I realized after waking up to, essentially a skin sparing mastectomy, pockets for implants against my will, I realized that I wasn't alone, and that actually happens to quite a few women. It's not a huge risk, but it's a real risk. It's a real thing. I realized that there was a lot of work to be done to make sure that women's decision to go flat is respected and given the aesthetic consideration that it deserves. We deserve the same, we deserve the services of a plastic surgeon to get the best possible result, just like women reconstructing their breast mounts do. We have a little ways to go to get to that point, but that's the basic, story about my work. And so on our website, we have a flat friendly surgeons directory. We have brochures you can print out with questions to ask your doctor. We've got a bunch of information about going flat initially, going flat at explant, getting revision surgery after your initial mastectomy, and resources for women who've had, what we call flat denial, which is having your wishes disrespected by your surgeon. We have resources for victims of that as well. So that's why I'm here today. And I was really happy to be invited on to discuss aesthetic flat closure. There's so many facets to this. The bottom line is it's a beautiful, legitimate choice. And, it's women are happy flat, and I'm happy flat. And I know you guys are. And yeah, I'm happy to be here. Thank you, Rebecca. Turn it over to Marianne.
My name is Marianne Duquette-Quozo. I'm a 3-time cancer survivor, and I'm also an artist and an advocate. And I met Rebecca through the Breast in the Sea, and she was, besides a good friend of mine, I went to this beautiful, she created an atmosphere that was so important to so many women. I get chills, and she knows this. And it provided, she was the first person I saw flat. And then a group of women were also the first time I saw women flat in all different places. And I wasn't there yet. My story's a little different in the sense that I had a Hodgkin's lymphoma when I was younger, and I was mantle radiation to my chest, which caused the breast cancer. And when I had the breast cancer, I did get implants, and I did want reconstruction. So it wasn't even a thought in my mind. I wasn't offered anything other than that, which is now offered, thankfully. We have choices, more choices. But personally, I did want to have reconstruction, but it failed because of all the radiation I had. So it was a struggle because it was the infections ended up being worse than the actual cancer diagnosis for me. And it was surgeries and hospital stays and infections and septic, and really awful experience. Left me with one implant and I took out the infected side, and I was left with a lot of skin from that. And I knew that eventually I had a choice of going to be reconstructed again with other body parts to make a mound to match this implant. And none of that was jiving with me. I was healthy at this point, and I felt, why would I have to go through more surgeries and more possibilities of an infection that would be taking my life away from me more and more? Just, and having gone to the Breast in the Sea, these beautiful beach meetings that were we meditated, we went in water, we got photographed by Miana June, and it was just, Rebecca made this experience for us, and Miana, this experience that made us leave there feeling we know we're beautiful inside and out. We know that, but there's this bond that happened to all of us and has continued to happen to all of us throughout this experience. And it's becoming the fact that now, yes, we have this body image of being flat. And Kim, I'm not quite there yet. Not quite totally satisfied with the way I look. I had body dysmorphia before I had all this too. It's self-acceptance, being self-aware. It's also making it very much, we want to make this that it is put into the, when you go to a surgeon, that it's discussed. We want it to be in that book, just like every other picture of every other breast and reconstructed breast was. We need to see flat women much more. And with that being said, it was a really, this is an important subject, as well as obviously us talking about metastatic breast cancer, which is something I know we all stand behind very much. I mean, 1 in 3 of us. And it's something I do a lot of artwork for metastatic that goes to research, and I'm very, very, very involved in that. It's very important to me, as it is all of us. So thanks. Thank you, Rebecca, for including me in this.
Thank you, Linda, too. Thank you for inviting us all here.
I don't know if you can see me now or not. I'm trying to moderate early. And so we can open things up to the audience for questions. But I'd like to ask a question first. I'm wondering how much of your time, each of you, are you aware of this now? Like, it's been a while and you talk about self-acceptance. How much is it there for you? Or how much do you have to struggle on a daily basis with thinking about this or being surprised by it, I guess? Does that make any sense?
Yeah, it does.
So how about clothing? Like, do you have trouble having things fit properly? What do you do about that?
I will tell you that for myself, I think in the beginning, I was it was very daunting that I found this new body, correct? I mean, it was this new, and I'm very tiny on top and I have big hips and whatever, but what I discovered through, and talking about a daily thing, it's become less and less. And it's become, since I'm creative, it's just part of my identity now. And I do wear a lot of scarves, and that mound of stuff right there is mounds of scarves that it's still how I express myself at this point. It's more of I don't walk around. Summer is different. Summer is a different, you notice people noticing you when you're wearing something, but I don't feel, I think you just, as of anything, you just get into a pattern of feeling better about it. Maybe it's much more of when it's intimate is a little different as far as that being different. I'm not that way. I'm not intimate with anybody, so it's very hard. I don't know how that would be at this point in my, in this body image. I have no idea. Haven't even stepped into that world, and it's been a while. But I gotta love this first,
And there's not a lot of experience in the world of psychology or psychiatry to help you along. You're kind of you're trailblazers in this area. So
I find, because I'm in therapy now and I'm so happy I'm in therapy, I have a lot of things on my plate, but it's like, I think that my therapist doesn't even know what to say, because she has no idea. She's never had anything like this to, she referred to me something that was someone who had an amputation of a leg. And I was like, that's not quite the same. As awful as that is, it's not quite, it doesn't take away your sexuality the way this happens to do it. Even when having reconstruction, it takes away, but not having breasts is something, because we're used to women having breasts.
So every woman has a different relationship with her breasts, right? Going into the surgery. And that's why it's such an individual process. The reconstruction decision is an individual process. I'm sorry, I keep getting 6 million things popping up on my screen. I don't know how to turn it off. The reconstruction process is very individual. It's about your values and priorities, and those can be very different for different women. And that's okay. That's the beauty of choice. But you also, your healing experience your emotional and physical healing experience and getting used to your new body, I think that's very individual as well. Like in my case, I'm like enormous. I'm 6'2". I have like super broad shoulders. Half the time I wear men's clothing because it's the only thing that's long enough. So honestly, for me, after I lost my 36 double H breasts, my clothes fit me better. Many of my clothes actually fit me better. And I'm not a fashionista. So, I think it would be probably more of a struggle if you had a lot of like high-end female items. I'm hearing somebody's music in the background. Is everybody muted other than the speaker? Because I'm getting some really loud music in the background here. Are you guys hearing that?
Yeah.
Can you guys hear? There it goes again. That's super loud. Okay, as long as you guys can hear me, it's okay. My only point is just it's individual. So when you lose your breath, even when you get reconstruction and even the best possible reconstruction, it's still a process of adjusting to your new body, because reconstruction, those are not your breasts that you're getting back. They're different. They feel different. They look different. And that's okay, but there's an adjustment period. And I think going into surgery, anticipating and preparing yourself that there will be an adjustment period, I think it's really important. It's important to have realistic expectations about what your process will look like post mastectomy. And I have to say for myself personally, I'm 3 years out. I don't even think about it most of the day. I don't even think about it. I don't have any range of motion issues. I don't have any mobility issues. I just don't have to wear a bra, which, I mean, frankly, it's a relief. I was a 36 double H cup, and I enjoy not having to wrangle my 10 pounds of breast tissue into 2 different bras every morning. So in some ways, it's really freeing to go flat. I mean, but it's different for every woman. So.
For myself, also, it's been a process, and I think it is a process actually for all of us. I feel that when I first had my second mastectomy, and I went from having one breast to being flat, it was something that I thought everybody must see, everybody must be staring at me. I felt very self-conscious, and kind of gradually realized that most people were so busy living their lives that nobody was paying any attention. And in time, I just got more and more comfortable with myself. This is just who I am now. And doesn't mean that I'm never self-conscious. I certainly can be at times. It's just whatever, I think it's important and helpful to lower the bar of expectation and just say, this is I'm healing, I'm changing, I'm going through recovery here, and emotions are going to come up, feelings are going to come up. It's going to be a process of healing. I think that's very healthy to just take it day by day and just as best as we can try to accept ourselves wherever we're at.
I think for most of us, I think for me, it gets easier the further out from surgery I get. My body map in my mind is like adjusting to the new body. I feel like when I first had the mastectomy and I woke up, I had special circumstances, but it's a drastic change, and it's not how you're used to seeing yourself. But over time, I think you acclimatize to the new normal, your new body. And it's like that with every change to our bodies. It's like that with aging too, right? Nobody is, young and perfectly healthy and forever. The transient, state. And we can accept. I find peace of mind through acceptance of the, fleeting nature of, how I look right now. It's going to be different over the years, and that's okay. Yeah. I embrace it.
Yeah. And I think that having a community of people who are the same way has helped me. I know, like I said, Rekha was the first person, and then I met Debbie Sue and everyone at the beach that day, and it was just it was realizing as we went around and we all introduced ourselves, I was like, oh, okay, we all have this in common, and it's not everyone's handling it differently, but everyone's handling it in the same really forward way. No one was like, I guess because I want to stay around with the positive energy and I don't want to stay around with people who are negative, period. It has nothing to do with, being flat or body or whatever. You just want to stay with people who are feeling really positive and trying to work forward to feeling good about themselves. And the community that I want to stay with are going in that direction of just like, let's just embrace this and feel good and, laugh a bit about it. You know what I mean? Like, yes, it is, we have that ability. So it's good not to be, you're never alone with this, and I think the cancer journey through all my cancers, I've never been alone. Maybe when I was younger, didn't know anything about it. It was different, but now with social media, you're not alone, and you have these ability to have these conversations. So.
Come such a long way. I felt so alone when I went through breast cancer, but now there's so much available on the internet and physical community. It's really wonderful.
The breast in the sea was one of the first positive flat imagery that I saw when I was facing surgery. So thank you for that, Rebecca and Marianne.
Very welcome. Really glad to hear that. And it's come so far too. I remember when we first had we were trying to prepare to have our first gathering. And prior to that, I'd interviewed women and, we wanted to take pictures and we wanted to show scars, but it just seemed like it was such a taboo topic and there was so much fear and it didn't seem like people were really interested and we didn't have a private place. So it really evolved over time. And I just remember what a big deal it was the first time we had our little gathering and just how liberating that felt to share that experience together. And now, it's just amazing how there's been going flat in the newspapers and magazines and all kinds of things now. So it's becoming more and more common. And thanks to lots of flat advocates, not just to our group at all, but just so refreshing to see that there's support, there's normalizing of this going on. And we all certainly play our part in that. So thank you.
And we make it, it's better for the next generation of women, right? Because that's what we want. We want
Absolutely.
their process to be easier.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes, 100%. I'm curious, so how we all
This works.
came to decide to be flat, or if it just happened to us. I know more about Marianne's story, obviously. Myself, when I was newly diagnosed, it never was presented as an option. And even though my mother was flat, so I'm a little say that I didn't consider it myself, it just seemed like everyone was presenting it as, of course, you'll have reconstruction. And I remember looking for images and there wasn't anybody my age available. And then when I finally saw images of people that had gone flat, it was just this very clinical, like from their chin to their navel, showing the scars, and that's really all. And that's not a very welcoming way to move into, oh, sure, I want to do this. But I hated having reconstruction. I had a single mastectomy, single implant, and I couldn't wait to get rid of it once I thought about that possibility. And 4 years after my first mastectomy, I had a second one for my remaining breast since I have the BRCA1 gene. And I just knew I wanted that out. And it didn't appeal to me at all, the thought of having massive surgery to move my buttocks tissue up to make a breast mound or anything like that, or my inner thigh. So I looked and looked, and I can't tell you how many hours I scoured the internet. I found one picture finally of a young woman sitting on the beach with her children, and Yeah, maybe you've
Oh, yeah.
seen it.
I know that
Maybe you've
picture.
seen it.
It's so beautiful with the little kids running around. She looks so happy.
Yes, that changed it for me. I saw that. I said, okay, I can do this. I can do this. And went in, had my implant removed, went flat, and then here we are. I mean, it's just sort of like a shock at first, I think, even if you're expecting it. But I don't think it is maybe as much for women today. I'm hoping that the more the images are shown, the more normalized this all becomes for us.
Well,
Hopefully
even
easier.
when I did when we did the fashion show at the Anna Ono show, you know, you didn't even notice. Like I you know what I mean? Like there was other flat women that I didn't even like, oh yeah, she's flat. I had no, like I was just looking at the person and what fun we were having. And there was like, oh, she's got breasts, she's got one, she's got, and I was just like, there was, because there were several women who were flat that I'd never met before. And we weren't presented in this way that we were there for a reason and awareness of, you know, metastatic cancer. And but it was funny how I didn't notice. And I think I'm hoping that's how it's going to be for what, you know, it will be like that eventually. Always like, oh yeah, you know, oh yeah, she's flat.
Hi, I'm back, ladies. Can you see me now?
I see you.
Yes.
Yay. I'm so sorry. I've had some technical issues again. I'm sorry to interrupt. I have one question from a lady who's saying she's getting pushback from her surgeon, which is I know a big issue here. And she said she'd like to, this is a friend and she wants to give this friend resources. Is there a group of surgeons now that is becoming more familiar with this and less traditional about things and more likely to be accepting of this? I cannot imagine going through this, thinking this is an option, and then having my surgeon give me disapproval. Like, what are you supposed to do with that? Do you assume that's the wrong surgeon for you and go find another one? Is there a place that we know that there are surgeons that are more likely to be accepting?
Do you guys mind if I field this one?
Please do.
So this is the situation that many women going flat face because we still have a long way to go, you know, to parity, what I call parity, which is going flat should be seen with, you know, and treated with equal respect as breast membrane reconstruction. Unfortunately, we're not there yet. And the problem is oftentimes when you're diagnosed, you're assigned a breast surgeon. You don't really shop around and choose your breast surgeon. So my answer to, you know, what should you do is you should get a second opinion, because this is your body and your choice matters and your aesthetics matter. And most women going flat want to be done in one surgery. And that's a big reason why we make that choice. I'm speaking of just women who are facing mastectomy, not explant. It's a little bit of a different situation, but I would get a second opinion, because, you know, if you're just rolling the dice, then whoever you're assigned that you land on happens to be a little bit on the paternalistic side of the spectrum. That's might not be somebody that you want to trust with your body. And, you know, they might be an excellent cancer surgeon, but you might land on a cancer surgeon who is also very supportive of your reconstructive choice. And that's what you deserve. That's what every patient deserves, is full disclosure of all their options and respect for their choice. And there is a group of surgeons. I've been curating a patient recommended list of flat friendly surgeons since 2018. It was actually, the original list was just given to me by a friend, and it's grown to over 215 surgeons.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So you can find that one at my website, notputtingonashirt.org. It's called the Flat Friendly Surgeons Directory. And those are all, I personally, either me or someone on my volunteer force has called that office and verified the information for that surgeon. So that would be my suggestion. Another suggestion is, if you can't find a surgeon in your area, there's like a list of, you know, what you should do next, all on the website. But just to give you a rundown here, you can seek out a surgeon who has oncoplastic training, what they call oncoplastic training. You can seek out a surgeon who's a dual specialty surgeon, breast and plastic. Oftentimes, if you can find somebody like that, they'll have great skills and more likely to respect your decision. A hospital that has an oncoplastic program may have a set of cancer surgeons who have good aesthetic skills, who may have more respect for your decision. And most surgeons do respect your decision. You got unlucky if you landed on one that doesn't, and you deserve to be treated with respect. So second opinion.
So you feel like the tide is turning a little bit among the surgeons where they're becoming more accepting of this, and you're maybe a little less likely to get pushback from them.
I think that's true, particularly with the visibility work that's been done for for the flat option over the last 10 years or so. Surgeons are starting to realize that patients, we are going to command respect for our choice. We're not going to accept, their judgment about what we should or shouldn't do. If we want to go flat, we deserve to have our choice respected. And a lot of it is patient demand,
Yeah.
I
want to talk a little bit about what it means the aesthetic flat closure is more of a smooth skin, not leaving room for implants where normally they try to preserve extra skin. We don't want that in this instance. We want it to be a flat scar and as natural looking in a flat way as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So is that harder surgery to do? It wouldn't seem like it should be.
So after the mastectomy, if you have very small breasts, very little body fat, there might not be any extra tissue to, so they call it surgical management of the extra tissue. So the more tissue there is, the more important it is to have a surgeon that is committed to and capable of managing that tissue appropriately. So either removing it altogether to reconstruct a smooth, flat chest wall contour. So removing it or rearranging the tissues. So, there's things they can do where they can repurpose skin to minimize concavity. There's all sorts of sort of plastic and oncoplastic techniques that are involved. So from the surgeons I've spoken to, depending on how much extra tissue there is after the glandular tissue is removed, it can take like 30 to 60 minutes maybe to do the aesthetic contouring work required to produce a nice smooth contour. And that's definitely something you should talk to your surgeon about. If it's very important to you to minimize your time under anesthesia, that's a consideration. If your aesthetics are super important, maybe your surgeon could consider bringing on a plastic surgeon for the closure who might be more efficient and might be skilled. Right now, plastic surgeons they have the aesthetic skills, and not all cancer surgeons do. Many do, but not all. So, it's in your interest to just self-advocate, make sure your surgeon understands, I want an aesthetic flat closure and I expect a good result with the initial surgery. And if you can't give that to me, will you consider bringing on plastics? It's perfectly reasonable. Women who get breast membrane reconstruction get access to plastics, and so should we. Should be covered by insurance.
And do we have trouble with that, getting it covered? It should cost less, I would think. It seems like it's a faster.
Well, not in other countries. Insurance does not pay for the plastic part of the surgeries. We're lucky. I was just going to chime in that when this was 6 years ago when I had my surgery, I went from breast surgeon to plastic surgeon, and they spent years trying to get those to work in tangent. And so I'm not discrediting what they did, because they did do exactly what I was asked, but I wasn't given a choice of flat, like I said. And then I had an infection and what have you. But when they did work hard to get that to work together as breast and then plastic. So that is something that I know that I got what I had asked for. It just didn't work for me.
I wanted to add that also if people want to go onto Facebook, there's a lot of different groups that there's people that are flat groups, and it's a great place to just join. Even if you're thinking about going flat, you can ask questions. You can ask people, does anyone live in my area, and what surgeon did you love? So
Yeah.
there's lots of ways to try to get that information. And I also wanted to say that there's some important health reasons to go flat too, if someone's faced with the decision. Um, the FDA finally came out with recently, I think last year or the year before, just that these implants can have toxic components to them. And a lot of people that have had them are now coming forward and saying, I'm not feeling well with these. And so many are considering having them removed.
And
And in your
ironically,
case,
I
you
had
had, sorry, Marianne.
I don't think, ironically, I was given those implants. I had those implants and they were moved. I had the implants that had the recall on them. So,
Oh, okay.
Oh,
And
you had the
also had,
textured implants.
Yep.
Yeah.
Me too.
they were.
and both you and Rebecca had infections also, is that correct?
Different infections.
Uh-huh.
I didn't have an
You did
infection.
have an infection, Rebecca. You did have an infection, Rebecca?
No, I didn't have an infection, but not long after I had my implants, actually, I was diagnosed with an autoimmune condition that I didn't
Okay,
have
that's right.
before. And that
I-
seems to be something that many are saying is common now.
Triggered by the implant.
Yeah.
I think there's a correlation. There seems to be a correlation enough that doctors and many patients are really looking at seriously now that wasn't considered before at all.
Yeah, I would like to mention here, we have to acknowledge that a lot of women are very happy with their implant reconstruction. But just having said that caveat, the prevailing theory, medical theory right now, is that there's a small subset of patients who are prone to having a bad reaction to implants, whether they have a history of autoimmune disease in their family, or there's some other they already have an autoimmune disease that's diagnosed. Those patients, may want to be more cautious about when they're considering implants for this reason. And I think some surgeons are starting to subscribe to that theory. There's some controversy on it, but there's no doubt that more women are explanting now. I mean, explant rates are increasing, and they're increasing for a reason.
Do you ladies see a time in the future where this is a standard option, and that we see more and more women making this choice and not wearing prosthetics, where it becomes less of a jarring thing to others, where they don't look twice at you, or there's no second glance?
Oh, yes, definitely. I remember when I first had my implant removed, and I had just joined the Facebook group Flat and Fabulous, and I think I couldn't access it before my surgery for some reason. And that was all really new for me. And there were a couple of women only that I saw on there even that were just regularly starting to post pictures of themselves. And it was very affirming, and it seemed really just, wow, that's different. I didn't think I would ever want to do that myself. I felt really shy. But for me, the reason why I've chosen to do this is because it has made such a difference to have that visibility, and of the desire to showcase ourselves and our scars as just being empowered and a sign of strength, because I think that's what we need.
I really admire
as.
all of you, and the guts and the grace that you have every day. It's just an amazing thing to me. Can this be reversed if someone decides to do this and then later they say, I'm not as comfortable as I thought I would be, or I just more, for whatever reason, I want to go back and have implants done? Is it too late then because you've lost the skin and they've made a nice smooth closure? Can they then go back and do the expanders or a tram flap or something else to create breasts if you wanted them to?
Yes, you can. I mean, you can. I mean, I couldn't personally, but I know of people who have, and we all know the same person who just yes, she got expanders put in, and then the implants. I think in the process of getting the implants put in.
Yeah, it depends on your medical situation, because if you've had extensive radiation, the skin may not stretch the same way that, yeah, right, exactly, you know it. And it just depends. But generally speaking, what I've been told from surgeons is that yes, you still can get reconstruction, you know, the reconstruction options that you are personally medically eligible for, yes. It might take a little longer because obviously if you take off all the extra skin, the expander would have to be in place to, you know, expand the skin to accommodate an implant. So it might take a little longer. But
and if you had radiation to that area, even if you had radiation before you, I mean, there's so many, I mean, I had radiation when I was younger, so that affected my skin. But when you think about women who have breast cancer, who have radiation, then they have the surgeries, you know, can they, you know, they try for the implant, it doesn't work, then they later on want to have that implant put back in, but yet they're radiated. It's, you know, I don't know how that would work, but I do know, I can imagine that I've seen women, you know, who have been having implants after the explant.
Yeah, so it's not like you're in a permanent decision. Once you've decided this, you can always talk to someone else and go back later if you wanted to. So that's a good.
I don't think it's as common. I mean, I don't think it's a majority. Right. Women who are flat have decided that this is the wear. Especially now, I think it's becoming more of a, you know, I've been asked a lot, would I have implants now? Would I want to go back to having implants, having wanted them originally and being rejected from my body? It's a daily thing where sometimes I would like a mound to fill out my body, but it won't happen, and I can't even think like that. So because my skin is completely like I'm duct taped basically, so there's nothing going in there. and I know that the three of us, prosthetics is not an option either for me personally. I wouldn't, that's not even an option. It's just.
So none of you, when you have to get dressed up for something special, or you're going to be taking
low cut.
You're never tempted to use prosthetics. You are accepting where you are permanently. This is good, and you don't have discomfort with this anymore. I'm sure at the beginning it was not an easy thing to accept, and to make that decision, I'm sure it was a huge, well thought out decision. So do you have days where you just say, well, I'm going to pretend today that these are here?
I know lots of women that do. And I have not really had much of a relationship with prosthetics. I totally assumed that I would, but I also, after surgery, felt my scars were just so sensitive. The area was so tender and nothing felt comfortable there. And during the time when that was all healing, I guess I just kind of got used to not having anything there. So it took some time. I used to wear some kind of like a swimmy prosthetic when I would my bathing suit, because I just felt so flat. But I don't anymore, and I haven't for a really long time. And I don't know, but I must say, whatever anyone is comfortable with is completely fine. So we each have to do what feels right and best to us, and it's all good.
Do you explain anything to people if you see somebody giving you a second look and you know that they've kind of, had a thought? Do you say breast cancer, or do you let them come to you? How do you feel about that when people have questions, and do you offer the answers, or do you wait for people to ask?
That's a great question, because, it can be scary to think I'm going to be flat, the whole world's going to see, and how are people going to react? That's a valid concern. I think most women would tell you that people just don't even notice that you're flat most of the time. Okay. They're thinking about their own stuff, and I personally have actually never had anyone come up and make a comment, but again, I'm 6'2" and scary, so maybe with that guy, Marianne had a different experience.
Marianne?
I had, there was a couple of times when you also go through cancer and then have, I'm wearing I'm bald and you're flat and I have lymphedema, so I have to wear a sleeve, and you're walking around like you're a label of,
Yeah.
poor Marianne, what I mean, that kind of thing. And I remember wearing a wig with my son, and then I put in prosthetics, and I was me, and he laughed at me because he was like, "What are you doing? Like, are you acting here?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm just playing," because I didn't know how. And he understood if I was having fun with it was one thing, but to be seriously, Mom, you take off the wig, take off those, just, and I guess it helped in a lot of ways too, because I realized that he wanted me to be me, and that's awesome. And I want to be me, obviously. I think I could be creative to it. To the question, I when I go for walks and stuff and I wear a tank top and I'm obviously flat and I'm walking proudly sometimes, you know what I mean? Like I'm feeling like I got this, and this is what strength look like, right? Right, Rebecca? So and then I'll get a stare at a guy in a car and I get the look like they're like, what? And I'll stand a little taller. Like, then my body goes, shit, excuse me. Am I saying, like,
No, it's okay.
I'm self-conscious of that person thinking, am I a girl? That's something that goes in my head, which I don't like, but that's just the way, it's because maybe I don't look, and that's maybe why I pile on some more makeup. And I'm doing that for myself too, but it's also because I just don't want that feeling of, I still want my femininity is not my breasts, but it is part of my body that made me feminine at one time. Now I don't have that. So my femininity of that part of me and my sensuality is gone. That's a toughie, and that goes in waves. But as far as people, like I remember being at a beach in Italy and someone, a group of women started talking about me, and I didn't understand what they said, but I knew what they were saying. And then they realized, they saw, and they all kind of realized, oh, okay, she, you know what I mean? And it's, even though I didn't understand what they were saying to me, I understood completely that they understood what they saw. And it was a bit moving moment, to realize that it's like, okay, we're all women, and we all are, you may know someone who had cancer, who had no breasts, it's interesting.
It's a very complicated issue
Layers.
that's compounded all day, I would think. Every time you go out, you're fine where you are, but all the people around us are possibly going to be jarred or not cover up their second look. I had that happen when I was wearing a wig once, where you don't have to hear anybody say anything to know exactly what they're thinking. And so I think I have a very big mouth, and I'd be more likely to sort of answer the unasked question and sort of pipe up with something nobody expected me to say. It's a really complicated issue. So when you lose that part, or you send it away into the atmosphere, does something else about you become more feminine to make up for it? Is that not tied to it? The femininity thing, all three of you are gorgeous and feminine looking anyway. But I'm thinking of someone who maybe isn't so attractive. Does that affect a lot when you're without makeup and when you're completely at home or whatever? Is that part of when you look in the mirror? Do you see it anymore, or has it kind of disappeared for you?
That's a really good question.
Is there an answer? Maybe not.
I
I
think
think it's probably different for
it's
everyone.
different for everyone. And I think for me personally, my struggle is being reminded of the cancer experience, which reminds me of my mortality, which reminds me of my limited time on this earth, which reminds me of my kids and now they're going to grow up and deal without a mother and blah, blah, blah. And my mind goes back. And I think that's true even if you have breast membrane reconstruction.
Absolutely.
You still have the scars.
Yes.
You're still going to see it. And it all gets tangled up in our minds. And I have to say, I don't think any woman grows up in this culture and escapes the unrealistic standards of traditional femininity that are enforced upon us. No one escapes that. It's like the goldfish swimming in the water. And that's one of the struggles from all the women that I have made friends with who have gone through breast cancer treatment. It's a struggle for every single one of us. And, what does your femininity mean to you? Some women, even, before or after their treatment, they're reevaluating their gender identity. And that's not common.
Hey guys, Des with T-Mobile. Today we're going to show you how.
Oh, something just popped up. It's different. It's different for every woman. And I personally, I look at it as a part of the normal life cycle of a human lifetime, and there's a time for 30 years I was breasted and athletic, and now I'm not.
Okay, that's fair enough.
And at some point you have to come to a place of acceptance. And that's why it's so important for women to be presented with all reconstructive options, because for many women, breast mound reconstruction is where it's at. And femininity may be part of that calculation. And that is 100% legitimate. It's a question of what are your priorities and your preferences, and just realizing in that thought process that you're not going to get your breasts back. They're going to be facsimiles and you won't have feeling. And that's okay. You just have to you have to be honest with, what each option is going to give you and what's important to you. And it's going to be different for everyone, and that's okay.
Okay. That's a good way to look at it. And it's very true. We're all changed by this, whether it's obvious once we're dressed to the public or not. But I think part of the point is it can't be up to the surgeon to push us into what decision we make.
Absolutely. And no one's going to argue otherwise, right? No one's going to make that argument otherwise. But, I'm glad you brought up prosthetics, because many women who go flat wear prosthetics for a time, and then they try going out without prosthetics, and they sort of like put their toe in the water. And, prosthetics are a legitimate option. If you don't want the surgical risk, but you still want to have a breasted appearance, prosthetics are where it's at.
Absolutely.
Thank God for all these
A
options.
lot of clothing that you once had darts where you could put mounds in, and when you wear it now, it looks not so great. So you put it in. This is exactly how I tried it. I went to a wedding, and the whole wedding, I was so concerned that these things were going to fall that I didn't even enjoy myself. And I went to the bathroom and took them out. And I just was like, this is so much better. And that was for me, and I just want to interject that, having had my cancers my lymphoma is younger, my cancer didn't affect my body. I mean, I had scars, but it didn't affect anything other than my mental, my mental and emotional scars, let's say. My being afraid or not being, having another cancer kind of issue, like what Kim is saying, is like that brings you back. Only having had the breast cancer and losing the breasts, and it's the most visible thing that it is a reminder of, but it doesn't define me. I shouldn't say it defines me, because I want to have it define me, to express, I'm Marianne, this is it, and I use my art with it, and I do this with it, and advocacy with it. So I'm excited that this is becoming a normal conversation where we're not all looking at each other like, oh, they don't have breasts. It's nothing like that. I mean, you could look at and all the women that we all know don't do that. They are very proactive in their feeling, but it took a long time. And I mentioned how much Rebecca was a huge part for me to explore that. You know, she helped me see that beautiful, and, you know,
As
being-
all of you are now to the newly diagnosed community that's watching today. We have to wrap it up, but we went over a tiny bit. I'm supposed to be watching for questions, and I have been, but I'm not sure if I'm seeing them. So if anyone has questions that we didn't answer, please let me know, and I will get you answers from our beautiful group of brave, amazing women we have here. Thank you so much,
Thank
all of
you.
you.
Thank you
I
so much,
think
Caitlin.
that you made a difference for more than one person today. And I admire all of you immensely. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.